Lynn, we're about ready to start taping. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Spokane area, welcome to our 2022 General Election Candidate Forum, featuring candidates for the 3rd Legislative District Representative, position number 1. This will be voted on by all the voters in Legislative District 3. And so with the redistricting, Legislative District 3 is now generally the city of Spokane from the southern city limits to lines that generally follow from west to east, Assembly to Cascade Way to Quamish Drive, Francis, Division down Euclid, and then the river. So I suggest going to a map to see exactly where this district is on the north side. The maps are available at the Spokane County Elections website, and you should have received a postcard indicating if you are now in this new district. I am Ann Murphy, your moderator, and Mike Bell of the League is the timer. Election day for the 2022 general election is Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. Ballots will be mailed to all registered voters beginning October 19th, and the return ballot must be postmarked or deposited in a conveniently located ballot box no later than 8 p.m. on Election Day, November 8th. This forum can be seen as an equivalent to a job interview as you, the voter, learn more about the candidates seeking to hold office. And you, the voters, are the ones who will determine by your vote and making your informed decision for hiring your representative when you mark your ballot. Citizens can register to vote by mail or online at votewa.gov by October 31, 2022, or in person on Election Day at the Spokane County Elections Office, 1033 West Gardner Avenue, or at Center Place in the Spokane Valley. For other questions about casting your ballot or information about the candidates, contact the Spokane County Elections Office, 509-477-2320, or visit their website, spokanecounty.org/elections, or on the League of Women Voters online voters guide, vote411.org. I'll be asking questions that have been formulated by the League's Voter Services Committee, and will ask as many questions as time allows. Before the questions begin, the candidates will have up to 30 seconds to introduce themselves and tell us briefly why they are running for this office. They will have up to 1 minute to answer each question, with additional time for rebuttal or follow-up question as appropriate. Each candidate will have the opportunity for a 30-second closing statement. And now the first speaker will alternate with each question. So now to meet the candidates. They are Scotty Nickel and Marcus Riccelli. So starting with you, Mr. Nickel, you will have 30 seconds to tell us why you're running for Legislative District 3 representative.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for hosting this forum. I'm happy to be here. I'm running for this position because I think we need to bring public safety and common sense back to the laws of our state. I grew up in Spokane. I absolutely love it here. I think that Spokane could be a model city in America, and I think that Washington has a lot of potential, but certainly there are some adjustments to be made in terms of our public safety, tax relief, and housing. Marcus has been in this position for 10 years, and it's time for a change.
Okay, thank you. And now Marcus Riccelli.
Well, thank you to the League of Women Voters. My name is State Representative Marcus Riccelli. I'm pleased to be with you tonight. A robust democracy can only exist with an active and engaged citizenry. This election is about what we can do when we come together. And when I think about my kids, I think about the kids I coach in soccer and all the kids of this community. We know that every kid deserves a shot to thrive no matter the zip code that they're born in, and that's why I'm running for office. I have a proven track record of success, and I know that if we work together, we'll continue to move this community forward on affordable housing, workforce development, and access to health care. Thank you.
And so, before we get more into some of those topics, I'm going to touch on something near and dear to the League's heart, and that is redistricting. The voting district lines across the state were recently redrawn, and the process was somewhat controversial. And since legislators write the rules for redistricting, are there changes you would support to the Washington State redistricting process? And if so, what would those be? And we'll start with you, Mr. Riccelli.
Well, first, I think we're very lucky that we're one of the states that actually has a bipartisan commission. A lot of other places don't. I think, they were crunched with time. The census data came out late. So I think if we need to look at lengthening the process, at the end, you have to have 3 of 4 of the appointees agree. And I think that's great to have Republican and Democrat appointees come together to come up with good maps. I do think the power of incumbency should be checked and challenged. I think that we need to look at making sure that we're drawing lines that align with folks, communities of similar interests, to make sure that we're not splitting up, say, cities, precincts, school districts. I think they give a good look at that. I also think here locally, I passed the bill to move us to 5 county commissioners. That was also, I think, a really standout opportunity to show how this process could work and a fair process. So we'll keep our eye on it. I think that there's always some tweaks and changes, but I think lengthening the time that they get to debate and come up with good maps is the way to go.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nickel.
I would say that I generally agree with what Marcus has stated. I will also say that what I want to focus on is the issues that people bring to my attention. And, I've doorbelled thousands of homes actually in this campaign, and that is not an issue that has come up. Certainly, I would look to be supportive of, moving our state forward in a positive direction. But I don't have a strong opinion on that.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move into some other questions. Some will relate more with some voting things, as well as things at the state level that you'll be dealing with. And I think one of the things to look at here, the most recent revenue forecast prediction is about $500 million lower than expected. So how will you evaluate programs that need funding, as well as supporting new forms of revenue? And we'll start with you, Mr. Nickel.
Yeah, could you repeat the first part of that question, please?
Yeah, what I have learned is that the most recent revenue forecast prediction is about $500 million lower than was expected.
Well, that's contrary to what I've heard, so I would need to look at that. I saw that the revenue forecast for June was actually higher than expected, and we had a $15 billion surplus in the state budget last year, and taxes were increased. Marcus actually voted for those increases, and I have to say that as a 29-year-old, I want to be pragmatic and common sense, and when we have extra money, we could have given that back to the people in the form of tax relief, whether that was gas taxes, which he voted to actually increase the tax on. We could have done something with property taxes. Certainly, I don't support an income tax. That's something that Marcus tried to achieve through a capital gains, but it was actually ruled unconstitutional by the state Supreme Court. And so that's something I don't support.
Okay, thank you. I will just make a note that I heard this forecast within the last week, that it just came out.
Okay.
So, okay. Mr. Riccelli.
Well, thank you, and I trust your information. And the revenue forecast, I think this is one of those cases where proven experience matters, understanding the forecasts, how we ebb and flow in our state, and we adjust either a 2-year or 4-year outlook. Look, a budget is a reflection of our values as a state, and we need to make priorities, and I'll continue to make priorities around housing, healthcare, childcare affordability, making sure people have access, particularly to behavioral health needs. But I will say, as far as my opponent talking about the capital gains, that affects less than 100 people and the wealthiest people in the 3rd district. And I'd like to fight for the folks in the middle class. I'd like to grow our economy from the middle out. And to me, that's what's important. That's the people that I'll be fighting for. And so I think we should continue to really push our priorities. Again, a budget is a reflection of our values as a state and the community, and I'll continue to fight for the things that matter to people, like workforce, investment, childcare, healthcare, etc.
And I'd like to stand up for all the people in our district.
Okay, thank you. And so I'm going to move it to drill down a little deeper here. What legislation would you support to make health care more available and affordable to Washington State residents, particularly keeping in mind Washington State's tax structure remains the most regressive in the country? So what changes to the state's tax structure would you support and particularly looking at health care. We'll start with you, Mr. Riccelli.
Well, thank you. And I think we just saw a big difference in what's at stake here. My opponent wants to stand up for the wealthiest few, and I'll continue to fight and work for our working class and grow our economy from the middle out. Look, I do think.
And why did you raise people's gas
I'm sorry,
tax?
I didn't know what kind of.
You cannot interrupt your opponent here.
Okay, well, I'd like a rebuttal.
You'll get a chance to respond to this question after he finishes. Okay, you may continue.
Well, thank you. I think we also have a different opinion on what civil discourse and debate is, and I think that'll be clear to the voters of the 3rd District. So for me, I think we'll continue to look at ways that we can make our economy work for everybody and more fair. And if we're looking to primarily, most of the tax on the capital gains went to the Bellevue area and to folks that aren't even in our community who are the richest of the rich. And we can put that investment into education, childcare. We can make sure that we have more accessible health care, quality, affordable health care to all. And that's what I'll be fighting for. And so we can grow our jobs in our community.
Okay,
and
thank you.
I don't know if, since some of my time is
if you have 10 more seconds to add.
Yeah, in the 10 seconds, I would say, I coached in a bipartisan way a YMCA youth legislature program. We talked about civil debate and discourse, and I think that's what we should have today.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nickel, you have a chance to respond to the question as well as to rebut any information.
Well, I would just want to start by saying that if you want to work for the working class people of our community, why would you raise their taxes? That would be my first question, because raising the tax on our gas, that's going to hurt working class people, certainly. But as far as the health care, I agree. I think we do need civil discourse in this nation and in our community. Some of that comes from listening. And as a legislature, I absolutely want to listen to our healthcare professionals about what's needed from them. I don't claim to have all the answers. I don't think you need to have all the answers in order to be in this position. But certainly you need to be able to listen to people, and that's what I'll do. And we'll definitely collaborate with the healthcare industry.
Okay, thank you. And so this question will start with you, Mr. Nickel, and then Mr. Riccelli will have a turn. So since transportation is the largest single contributor to greenhouse gas emissions in Washington state, what legislation would you propose or support to reduce these emissions?
Well, I don't support mandates and restrictions on people in terms of, I know you supported something that requires new housing to have solar panels on it. I think there's just a better way. You can do it through partnership, innovation. All of that's very exciting, and certainly I want to do what we can to care for the climate, but I'm not for forcing people. I'm not for mandates. That's not what I want my role to be. So as far as caring for the climate, I am absolutely look forward to collaborating, innovating, being a partner in that regard, but I do not support mandates and restrictions and penalties on people in terms of electrification and going green and all of that.
Okay. Mr. Riccelli?
Well, I believe the question was around transportation, so I'll try to address that.
Transportation and emissions.
Okay, thank you. So look, I think we need to continue to make strong investments in things like the Central City Line, in bus rapid transit, to make sure we have multimodal opportunities for people to get to work. We know around Division, there's thousands of people that with the right transportation can get access to jobs. That can significantly reduce our carbon footprint. And I do support the North Spokane Corridor because I worked in a bipartisan way to deliver over $1 billion for this county of a $16 billion transportation package. I work with Senator Baumgartner and with a number of other legislators from the other side to make sure that we're doing the right things, because at the end of the day, the North Spokane Corridor will take pollution out of the game in a lot of ways by moving people faster and more efficiently. So I think we need to look at those things. I did support things like a low carbon fuel standard. I think that that's right, and I think the direction that we're headed to have more efficient cars that use less carbon emitting mechanisms is the way to go and the way of the future to protect our environment.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to continue a little bit in this vein. Beyond transportation, what policies would you support to increase our state and communities' environmental resiliency and address climate change mitigation? We'll start with Mr. Riccelli and then Mr. Nickel.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, like as a soccer coach, as somebody who's in Eastern Washington, I think the effects of climate change are real. We don't need an extra season, which is the smoke season, which takes kids and all of our great activities in the summer out. And so I think addressing climate change is not only an existential threat to our future, but I think it's extremely important to make sure that I think we can be the leader in green collar jobs in this community. We can produce the kind of technology that's needed that creates jobs and also makes us more energy efficient. So, look, I support investments in clean tech. I support policies that will reduce our carbon footprint. I think the business community and the environmental community can agree that, near nature, near perfect, we want to have a clean river. We want people to be able to eat fish out of the river and, do things that are great around this community. So I support a number of the policies that I think will move us forward on the environment.
Thank you. Mr. Nickel.
Well, certainly I agree. I grew up in Spokane, and the smoke is not something that I have memories of as a kid, so I completely agree that that's an issue. I would be curious to know how we are caring for our forests in that regard. I think it's very important. You have to do some mitigation and some clearing out of the forests so that we don't have these wildfires, and that's really important to me. But again, I just want to make note of this. I have visited with thousands of people in this campaign, and I've knocked on thousands of doors. And while there have been people who have asked me to be an ally as far as the environment, and I look forward to doing that, that is not an issue that the people are bringing up to me. It's public safety, it's tax relief, and those are the two main issues that I've heard over and over again, and that is what I am here to deliver for the people of Spokane.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. We're starting with a new question. What strategies would you support to enhance civics education in the K-12 school system? And we'll start with you, Mr. Nickel.
Well, I think we need to be teaching history. I actually grew up going to public school. I went to public school until 13 years old, and then I actually transitioned into private school. But I would want to talk to educators about that. I would want to see what they think that we should be doing. Again, I have no problems listening to people and engaging in civil discourse. So I would want to hear from the educators on what they think we should be doing legislatively. That would be a priority of mine. I'd be happy to look into that. But if we're going to be talking about K through 12, I do hope that we'll be talking about mental health in the schools at some point, because that is absolutely something that I want to support and move us forward in.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Riccelli?
Well, I think civics education is critical. For many years, I worked with a partner who was a Republican legislative campaign operative, actually. We ran a YMCA youth legislature program, and, those students came and they learned about civil discourse. They learned about, advocating for policies and really caring. And honestly, I would put those students up against a lot of folks walking on the streets with the knowledge that they gained and the way that they learned about the system. It was quite an opportunity. So I think engaging in those things, but I'd like to bring them back to the classroom. I don't think there's anything more important that we could do than putting civics back in the classroom, front and center, along with critical thinking. One of the things that's been talked about is making Election Day a holiday. Maybe that's important, but maybe we should just have mock elections across our schools on Election Day so they get that ingrained, the importance of civics. And I really hope we can bring what it means to be a citizen back to front and center, because right now I think it's concerning the way that our democracy is being threatened.
Okay, thank you. So another thing that has been before the legislature in the last several years is passing a bill to allow local options in support to permit ranked choice voting in our local and state, or particularly in our local elections. So I'm sure that bill will be coming back up again, and so what are your thoughts on allowing communities to select ranked choice voting if they want to? We'll start with you, Mr. Riccelli.
I've been a co-sponsor of the bill. I support it, and I think the bills made it almost all the way to the House floor, and I would vote in support of it. I think it's giving an option to our communities to provide more voice and provide more opportunities, and so I would continue to support that.
Okay, Mr. Nickel.
From what I've heard about ranked choice voting, I'm personally not a fan. I don't like it. I would want to hear from the citizens of our community on that issue. It's certainly not been brought up to me when I've been out doorbelling. I don't know how many doors you've knocked on, but I've knocked on thousands, and that's just not a issue that people have brought up to me. So if it does come before us, that would be something that I would want to hear from the citizens on. But I'm happy to share my personal view of it. It seems confusing, and I'm just not a fan of it.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll take a cue off of where you've started, Mr. Nickel, and say this is, you're hearing other things at the door. So, and you've mentioned a couple. So I want to allow each of you to state the main things you're hearing as you're out there and how specifically you would work to solve those issues. Mr. Nickel, you start, and then Mr. Riccielli.
Thank you. So I would say the number one thing that people bring up to me when I go doorbelling is their concern about public safety in our community. They've noticed some increases in crime. There's a general perception that safety is going downhill in our community and in our state. And I think what we should start by doing, and we're going to if I get elected, but we're going to give the police their tools back, which is so important. They need to be able to protect us. I want them to have the tools they need to keep us safe and to keep themselves safe. That's very important to me. And I already built a positive working relationship with the police department when I was in the mayor's office, something I'm extremely proud of. But we're going to start by giving the tools back to our police officers who do a great job for us, the tools that Marcus actually took away from them, and unfortunately, unsafe conditions ensued all across our state because of that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Riccielli.
Yeah, I think public safety is an important issue, and we'll provide legislation that will help enhance the training of our law enforcement officers. And what my opponent continues to acknowledge is that the bill that passed was a bipartisan bill in response to a state Supreme Court ruling. And I think we can improve and perfect on that. I think we need to. I think we need enhanced training. I think we need to invest. I truly believe that everybody not only should be safe, but should feel safe, and that includes our law enforcement officers. And so that's why, I was pleased last night that the council put forward a resolution, and as your representative, I'll be supporting enhancements to our training facilities to make sure that those new police officers, and I'm so grateful this next generation are stepping up, that they'll be able to keep our community safe.
Okay. So before we go...
I would like to
All right, you can have
something.
30 seconds, and then Mr. Riccielli can have 30.
So what I was referring to is those anti-public safety bills that you passed that took away tools from the police, and you were actually warned that it was going to go very badly, and then you ignored the warnings, and it went very badly. And then when you were given the opportunity to go back and do the right thing and undo what you had done, you refused to do so, and you didn't go nearly far enough. And unfortunately, our community has dealt with the ramifications of that bad decision-making.
Okay, Mr. Riccielli, you have 30 seconds.
Yeah, certainly. And I did support, after talking with our sheriff and others, and it was controversial, but I supported the changes and passed a bill off the House floor. It didn't pass the Senate to give back some of the rights to law enforcement officers to pursue. My dad has worked a lot of cases with some of those chases that have gone through communities and endangered a lot of citizens, but I think with the right sidebars around that some of those tools need to be enhanced. But look, here's what I'll say. We have a lot of challenges, and I think public safety is atop that, and I agree with housing as well.
Okay, I have to stop you there, and you can pick that up as
Sure.
No, we're not going to continue to...
I think this is important, and that we should...
All right, you can each have 30 more seconds.
He's rebutted twice. I think we should move
Well,
on.
if you have another 30 seconds, then you get to talk more. Unless you
not-
want to stop talking about this issue.
All right, we're going to
which
do
I wouldn't
this,
blame you.
gentlemen. We will do this. You each have now, the question I'm asking you is what issue has not been brought up today that you would like to discuss? If you want to discuss this one further, you can, or you can come up with something else, and we'll start with Mr.
Well, I haven't had a chance on the question initially to answer.
Didn't you just answer the question?
Okay, so,
It was a rebut. What would you like us to do?
well, okay, you rebut. Mr. Nickel, did you get a full thing in there?
I would like to say something more because this issue is so important to the people of our city. Number one, I'm endorsed by the Spokane Police Guild. I am endorsed by the sheriff. I am endorsed by the Council of Police Officers and Sheriffs, which I'm very proud of. So you've been in for 10 years. Why wouldn't they want to work with you anymore? They want to work with me now because I actually built a positive working relationship with them, and I'm very familiar with working with law enforcement. But the thing that hasn't been brought up is cost of living, and that is something that the people of Spokane are very concerned about. That is why I want to give people tax relief.
That will be your next
because
question,
he raised our
Mr.
taxes.
Nickel. That'll be the next question. Mr. Riccelli, you have 30 seconds to rebut this last piece on the public safety.
Sure. I think we should all have good working relationships with our law enforcement. We should also make sure that there's a balance in how our law enforcement interacts with our community, and the voters have said, we need to enhance training and we need to provide more mental health support, et cetera. I'm proud to be the WACOPS Legislator of the Year previously. I'm proud to have the endorsement of the Fraternal Order of the Police, and I think we'll continue to work to improve for our whole community, to make sure our whole community is safe and strike the right balance.
Well, something must have gone wrong.
No, we're
because
going to
WACOPS
stop there, Mr.
endorsed
Nickel.
me.
We are going to stop. We're going to go. We are to the end of our time, and so we don't have time to do the other question we were going to do. You each have time for your 30-second closing statement. Mr. Riccelli.
Well, thank you. When we work together in Spokane, we bring success to our community. I worked across the aisle to bring a medical school. I led efforts to bring billions of dollars to transportation projects throughout our region. I secured capital investments at things like Hope House, our East and West Central Community Center, the Women and Children's Free Restaurant, and made significant investments in early learning and childcare. This election before you has a clear choice. I think you have proven leadership, and I think what we saw today is the opposition has bumper sticker slogans.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nickel, you have a final 30 seconds here.
Well, I'll start by saying thank you to Marcus for, I do appreciate the fact that you were willing to step into public service, but what I don't appreciate is your behavior, particularly in the last few years as a legislator. You had the audacity to raise people's taxes, raise working class people's taxes in our community when we had extra money. You purposefully took away their public safety when you were warned what it would do, and you did it anyway. So it's time for change, and I can do a better job for the people of Spokane.
Okay, thank you for those closing statements. This concludes our 2022 General Election Candidate Forum featuring candidates for the 3rd Legislative District Representative Position 1. They are Scotty Nickel and Marcus Riccelli. And here are a few reminders. Be sure to register to vote online or by mail by October 31. Same-day registration on Election Day can be done at the Spokane County Elections Office or Center Place in the Valley. Ballots will be mailed to registered voters October 19th through 21, and then ballots must be postmarked, no stamp necessary, or deposited in a ballot box by 8 p.m. November 8th. You can contact the County Elections Office for more information about accessible voting units or other questions you have about casting your ballot. Contact information for the candidates as well as voter's guide can also be found at the County Elections Office. Additional information about the candidates can be found at vote411.org. So on behalf of the League of Women Voters, thank you to our candidates for your participation in this forum. We hope this has given you, the voters, information that will help make an informed decision when marking your ballot by November 8th. For more information about the League, you can visit our website at lwvspokane.org. And thank you to our audience and to our candidates. Thank you.
Thank you.